Welcome to McNulty's Book Corral. I'm your host, Thomas McNulty, and today we're talking about mystery, murder, and mayhem. Great mystery thrillers. So here we go. Let's start out with an anthology, the Black Lizard Big Book of Black Mask Stories. This is a compilation of recent vintage, which includes all sorts of wonderful pulp fiction, detective, and mystery and thrillers, including the Maltese Falcon, which by Dashiell Hammett, which is one of the all-time greats. So I wanted to give a tip of the Stetson to this fantastic collection. Worth having. This is easy to find on Amazon. So check this out. If you're interested in recommendations, just start with the pulps. Get right to it. The pulps did some of the best work. And since we're talking about the pulps, let's talk about the number one hard-boiled writer of detective fiction. I chose this one for Raymond Chandler because it's such a great cover. This was published by Wings way back in the day, which includes The Lady in the Lake, Farewell My Lovely, The High Window, and The Big Sleep. Great Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe novels. Raymond Chandler is the alpha male when it comes to hard-boiled detective fiction, the greatest of the greats. I totally agree with that statement, and that's why I'm repeating it. So many people have said the same thing, and they are correct. Everything that we know about detective fiction starts here. Not that other books such as The Maltese Falcon are not worth looking at. They are worth looking at. They're classics. But we're going to talk about some more recent classics, too. Start here. Start with the big book of Pulp Fiction. Here's another compilation, John D. McDonald. Now, these are the Travis McGee novels that were published. This is by Avenel. This is a widely easily found compilation. You can find it on eBay, I think, probably Amazon as a used book. And this includes The Dreadful Lemon Sky, The Empty Copper Sea, Free Fall and Crimson, The Green Ripper, A Tan and Sandy Silence. Travis McGee. John D. McDonald is awful hard to beat, really. One of the top-notch, great mystery thriller writers of all time. I love McDonald's books. Not to be confused with Ross MacDonald, who was another favorite. Here was The Moving Target. Here is Sleeping Beauty. I'm not going to show them all. Name is Archer. Of course, Lou Archer, Paul Newman made the film Harper, where they changed his name to Harper. That's a great movie, by the way. And The Barbarous Coast. All of these are great. The Zebra Striped Hearse was one of my favorites. So Ross MacDonald, he's been gone a long time, too. I have everything. I have the hardcovers and so forth. Ross MacDonald, I don't know, people don't seem to like him these days. Everything on the internet goes through trends. It's popular to dislike people. I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. Ross MacDonald might not be in the same league as Raymond Chandler, but he's certainly worth reading. The writing is really wonderful. Sometimes I think the writing is better than the plots. I agree with that, but I wouldn't ignore Ross MacDonald. The writing is too good. Really quite a great writer. I understand from looking at some of the biographical material on MacDonald and Raymond Chandler that Chandler wasn't really fond of Ross MacDonald. Little trivia there. I don't know if the truth of that or not, but that's what I picked up. I just grabbed it. I just grabbed some mysteries, hard-boiled detective thrillers, because I don't talk about those enough. Here's Savage Bride by Cornell Woolrich, an old paperback. If you haven't read Cornell Woolrich, I'm recommending find Cornell Woolrich. Fantastic stuff, okay? Really great stuff. Edward S. Ahrens. Here's two of his thrillers. Edward Ahrens, his assignment. These are just two. I have all of them. What a fantastic writer. I think the equivalent of James Bond for American spy thrillers was Edward S. Ahrens. Again, the writing is superb. I'm just trying to show you a few here for recommendations. I have everything. I'm not going to show you every single title. I wish I could. Shel Scott. Here's another one. Shel Scott, Dead Heat, Stripped for Murder. Shel Scott is another one of these great, everybody had a gun. Richard Prather's Shel Scott novels are superb in every way. I think Prather is one of the more influential of these authors that I'm showing you, outside of Raymond Chandler, I think Richard S. Prather he's up there at the top. You can't ignore him. I actually have multiple copies of these. What collector doesn't, right? Kill them twice. So, I always get emails from people. Can you sell me your dupes? No, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not going to do that. I can't talk about mystery novels and so forth without talking about the late, great Walter B. Gibson, who wrote the Shadow Pulps under the name Maxwell Grant. These are the now famous Bantam reprints from the 60s and 70s. These were the first ones that I read. Almost the whole series was recently reprinted. And just fantastic writing in this stuff. I can't praise Walter B. Gibson enough. So when you're talking about Mystery, Murder, and Mayhem, you've got this fantastic work here. How about Frank Kane's Johnny Liddell Mysteries? Hearst Class Mail, A Real Gone Guy. These are spicy little thrillers, too, I'm telling you. You can tell by the covers, right? We talked about Man-Bait in a separate episode. Again, I'm showing you books that are extremely well written, okay? Red Hot Ice, one of my favorites. Look at that. Great cover. Frank Kane, there's a whole series of these. I don't know how many. I have them all packed away somewhere. I have so many books, unfortunately. I have a lot of stuff in storage. All right, Mike Shane, Brett Halliday. How about that? Now, I think some of the later books were written by different authors, but these early ones are just fantastic to read. The Mike Shane Mysteries, Uncomplaining Corpses, What Really Happened. Just fun material to read. So I hope that these recommendations are useful to you. And then we're going to look at, Matt Helm, Donald Hamilton. Here's a couple of Donald Hamiltons. I have all of these as well, just two to show you. Again, I'm making recommendations. There's a picture of him on the back of this one, by the way. The late, great Donald Hamilton. By the way, Donald Hamilton isn't generally known as a writer of Westerns, but he did a couple of Westerns. I'll have to cover those later, including a short story, The Guns of William Longley, that I think is probably among the finest Westerns ever written. He didn't do a lot, but what he did was fantastic. And we're going to end with the late, great Don Pendleton, okay? Because if you're talking about mysteries and thrillers, here's the first 10, Executioner. Everybody's familiar with this series. It went on for years. Multiple writers worked on this series. Unfortunately, in recent years, some of those writers did not do a great job in recent years, but the series maintained its interest. I think it's still being done as ebooks. I'm not really 100% sure on that. I'd have to check. I know they stopped doing the print editions, I believe. I think the early books like these have all been reprinted. Here's two of the number ones. I really like collecting the first 100 of these. So the first 10, So Don Pendleton, you can't go wrong there. Mystery, suspense, murder, mayhem. So many other authors we could cover. Agatha Christie, Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes, etc. I think mysteries remain among the more popular genres. They're fun to read. So thank you for checking in to McNulty's Book Corral. We only have a few episodes left from Season 1, and I wish you well, stay happy, feed your brain, and read a book.